I had great fun running around the wet and muddy Tahiti woods on my first run in inov-8's mud tractor, the X-Talon Ultra 260 V2s. I got fantastic traction from this 8mm lugged outsole, but the shoe did feel quite firm and quite minimal underfoot on some of the harder, firmer trails that I ran in it. I put a good 50 miles in the shoe now on a big mix of terrain, so let's see how it performed. And let's cross our fingers that it's performed better than the last trail shoe that we tested, the Adidas Ultra. Welcome back folks, I'm Lloyd Purvis and this is Run4Adventure. If you're new to the channel, then thanks for watching, really hope you enjoy the video. If you do enjoy it, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, but also hit that bell icon so you'll be notified when we upload any great new running content to the channel. Right, I suppose it's about time that we dive into this review. So the last time I spent any decent mileage in an inov-8 trail shoe was when we tested and reviewed their first ever deep midsole trail shoe, the Trailfly Ultra G 300 Max. Today we're looking at a shoe that's been developed for completely the other end of the spectrum, and it is a soft ground running shoe. So the X-Talon Ultra 260 V2 is all about giving you lots of ground feel, lots of connection, great levels of traction and grip from that outsole, and there's no deeply cushioned midsoles in sight. So before we go through how the shoes performed over those 50 miles, let's give you guys a few facts and figures. It retails in the UK for £125. Weight-wise, it comes in at 290 grams in a men's UK 10. It runs off an 8mm offset, so we've got a 16mm stack height under your heel and 8mm under your forefoot. When it comes down to colourways, it's available in only one colourway for men and for women. And I'd say on sizing, it's in true inov-8 style. It sizes up a little bit short. So I've actually gone up to a UK 10 from my normal UK 9.5. And I'd say it's got good width and good depth in the toe box. When it comes to the construction of the V2, it has had a completely redesigned upper. That's to offer a comfortable lockdown feel and fit. inov-8 have chosen to use this super strong sort of ballistic nylon fabric on the upper construction to offer high levels of breathability and protection when you're on the trails, but also excellent durability. The tongue in the upper now is pretty thinned down, so there's not a lot of padding in there at all, and alarm bells always ring for me in an inov-8 shoe with a thin tongue because I have had issues in the past, so it'll be interesting to see how comfortable that is. There may well be padding taken out of the tongue, but they've definitely added padding around the ankle collar and in the heel cup. I heard lots of sort of negative feedback about the first version of this shoe where that ankle collar was pretty stiff and pretty aggressive, and it caused some runners some irritation over longer runs. I can definitely say inov-8 have listened because this ankle collar is very soft and very plush now in the new version. We got some structural overlays around the midfoot of that upper to give you that nice sort of lockdown feel, and we've got some overlays around the lace eyelets and around that toe box for a bit of added durability and protection. A bit of reinforcement in the toe, I always like that in a trail shoe, and finishing off, we've got some handy little attachments around the back end of the shoe if you run with trail gaiters. Moving down to the midsole and outsole construction, and you've got a full power flow midsole in the shoe to offer you that good balance of comfort and connection. Something I did mention in the first impressions review was that you don't get a pair of inov-8's brilliant boomerang footbeds in the shoe, which I personally think is a little bit of a shame, but we'll get onto that a little bit later in the review. And I suppose we need to talk about the feature that this shoe has kind of been built around, and that is this super aggressive outsole. It's been designed to handle the wettest, muddiest conditions with these super chunky 8mm lugs. Those lugs have been clad in inov-8's super sticky rubber compound, so with the combination of the two, we should be left with a trail running shoe that will give you a lot of confidence underfoot on a big mix of terrain, no matter how extreme those weather conditions get. A couple of other features worked into that midsole that are worth mentioning is you get that MetaFlex groove there, and you've also got inov-8's dynamic fascia band system. So that MetaFlex groove is to give you a bit more flex through the midsole on toe off, but also save a little bit of weight. And then we have that DFB system, claimed by inov-8 to give you a bit of an extra kick with every step, making you run faster and more efficiently. I'm not sure that little thing there worked into the outsole can live up to them big bold claims, but I guess we'll find out. So there you have it, inov-8's new X-Talon Ultra 260 V2. Come on guys, what's going on with all these long shoe names? Let's have some shoes with shorter names. It'd make this reviewing lark a lot easier. But there's a few facts and figures and a bit of info about how the shoe's been constructed. I've spent a lot of time in this shoe over the last few weeks on a big mix of terrain. So let's dive in and see how it's performed. We'll highlight some of the standout things for me, the things I've really liked, but also maybe a few things we feel that could be slightly improved just with a few subtle tweaks. I think we've got to start with the super aggressive tractor-like outsole and the great levels of traction that those 8mm lugs have given me. When I was out running on sort of wet, muddy, grassy areas or really boggy trails or a combination of the two, I never ever doubted that level of traction once, and I just felt really confident on every foot strike. Now, I've run in some deep lug trail shoes before in the past, and when I picked up sections of tarmac or rocky trail, or even worse, wet tarmac or wet rocky trail, sometimes that level of grip could be pretty sketchy or just downright dangerous. I'm glad to report that hasn't been the case with the X-Talon. So I think by inov-8 using that sticky rubber compound, I've actually found the level of grip on wet tarmac and wet rock to be pretty good, and that's even though I'm running on these deep lugs. I was a little bit concerned about this ballistic nylon that inov-8 have used in the upper. When I first took the shoe out of the box, it did feel a bit stiff, a bit rough, but it's actually performed really well. Nice and breathable, really good levels of protection from trail debris, and it's not stiff at all. Once you get in the shoe and start running, no issues. I also think that the changes to the ankle collar and the heel cup are probably going to be a bit of a revelation to most. It now feels very plush, very comfortable, I had no issues at all, but I still felt really well locked into the back end of the shoe. I have had in the past where brands have added a lot of cushioning or padding around that heel. I've kind of lost that locked in feel and get a bit of slippage or movement in the heel cup. Glad to say that's not the case in these. I've really enjoyed the shape and fit of the upper, really nicely locked in around my midfoot, so I feel really connected when I'm running and moving quickly on technical areas. And for my foot shape, really good width, really good depth in that toe box. So I've got that wiggle room, my feet can sort of splay on foot strike, or if I'm running longer, they can expand into that space. And I mentioned having a lack of padding in that tongue, but no problem. So no sort of laces pulling through that tongue, digging into the top of my foot like I've had in the past in some inov-8 shoes. So obviously I'm really happy about that. So quite a few standout features, things that I've liked, really good levels of grip and traction, a nice, comfortable, good fitting upper. But I think there is one thing that could be slightly improved, and I don't think it would take a lot to improve it. And in fact, I know it won't take a lot because I've sorted it out already. Now, I know this has been designed as a soft ground trail shoe, so running on the fells or soft, boggy, muddy trails, but I still think it could offer a bit more cushioning and a bit more protection underfoot. On that first outing in the woods, I did pick up a few rocky sections and I had to run sort of half a mile to get back to the car. And I'm really not sure how long I would want to spend running this shoe on the hard stuff. Now, I don't mean stick a great big deep cushioned midsole on the shoe, because that would just spoil all that great connection and ground feel that the X-Talon gives you, and inov-8 kind of make the Trailfly Ultra that does that job. But I think a little bit more cushioning and a little bit more protection would just make the X-Talon a little bit more versatile. So what do I mean by a bit more cushioning and comfort? Well, by that I mean having a pair of these in the shoes. So if you haven't come across these before, these are inov-8's brilliant boomerang footbeds, and they really are brilliant. They come in some of their trail shoes like the Terra Ultra and the Trailfly Ultra G300 Max. Unfortunately, they don't come in the new X-Talon, which I personally think is a real shame and a bit of a mistake by inov-8. This is actually a pair I took out of my other shoes and popped in the X-Talon just to give you that slightly softer, slightly more comfortable, slightly bouncier midsole. You can buy them individually for £20, I think, off of inov-8's website, but I really think the new X-Talon should have just come with a pair inside. It's probably down to cost, production costs, but I think they should have maybe charged £10 more for the shoe, put a pair of them boomerang footbeds in, because I really think it would have been worth it. Since that first impressions video and having a little bit of discomfort running on the hard stuff, I've actually had a pair of boomerang footbeds in the X-Talons ever since, and I've got to be honest, I just can't believe the difference that this thin footbed has made to the performance of that shoe. So I still feel really connected, still feel the trails underfoot, no loss of that at all. But when I pick up a section of rocky trail or I have to run a bit of tarmac, I would say the shoe is at least 50% more comfortable. So what that's done is, it means I can spend a longer time on the rocky trails, I can run on more varied terrain, and if I have to run on a bit of tarmac, it doesn't cause me any issues at all. So again, highlighting that a pair of these boomerang footbeds would have made the new X-Talon a lot more versatile. I obviously realised that this would put the production costs up, and inov-8 were probably trying to keep the shoe around that £125 price point. I personally think maybe a good idea for the future is to offer the sort of standard version at £125, and then maybe offer something like a pro version that's, you know, £135, £140, and it comes with a pair of them boomerang footbeds. But that lack of cushioning and protection on the harder stuff is the only slight negative I have about the shoe. But we've reached that point in the review where we need to get some points on the Run4Adventure board. So let's start scoring it. We always start with price here at Run4Adventure. And I think the X-Talon Ultra 260 V2 at £125 is actually a pretty reasonable price point for this shoe, especially when you look around the shoe market and how crazy it is at the moment and prices going through the roof. I think it makes the shoe pretty affordable. So when it comes down to price for the X-Talon, we're going to score it an 8 out of 10. Comfort and performance are up next, and in that soft ground, wet, muddy environment the shoe's designed for, it has performed exceptionally well. Great levels of grip and traction, again, super breathable upper, great levels of protection from that upper on the trails as well, and them changes to the ankle collar and heel cup I think have made a big change and a big improvement to comfort overall. Harping on about those boomerang footbeds again, I think if the shoe had come with them, it would have probably scored even higher. I totally understand. This is a soft ground shoe designed for them soft, muddy areas. So we're going to still score it high here at Run4Adventure, and we're going to give it an 8 out of 10 when it comes to comfort and performance. Last thing to score is always durability, and this has been an issue in the past for some inov-8 shoes, especially when it comes to the upper, and the upper sort of breaking down at that flex point. I personally think the new X-Talon is built a bit like a tank, so I don't think there's going to be any issues with durability. This ballistic nylon looks super durable. We got some great sort of chunky overlays around that toe box, so again, it's going to hold up to all those foot flexes over the miles. And looking at the outsole, even though I've done a fair bit of road mileage in it and you're running off these deep lugs, it's not showing any sign of wear at all. So it's going to have to come in with another good score for durability, and it's actually going to be 8s all round. So 8 out of 10 for durability for the X-Talon. So when you tally up all those points at Run4Adventure, it's going to score a very respectable 24 out of 30. It's really nice to have a positive outcome on a trail running shoe review after our last quite disappointing review featuring the Adidas shoe. When it comes down to that subjective topic of looks, I actually quite like the looks of the shoe, so we're definitely going to give it a thumbs up for looks. I like this sort of bright orangey yellow colourway with the black undertones. I think it would have been nice if inov-8 had offered a couple of other colourways rather than just this, but I'm sure they will release some new colours in the future. But yeah, thumbs up all round when it comes down to looks. When it comes down to comparisons, inov-8 do have quite a unique feel and fit, so obviously other running shoes within their range range. Say the X-Talon G235 or the 255 V2s or the Mud Claws would probably give you a very similar feel and fit. So if you are the type of trail runner that likes a really deep, bouncy, soft cushion trail shoe underfoot, then this probably isn't the shoe for you. But if you're looking for a soft ground trail shoe, you run on trails that are super muddy, super boggy, you need a good level of grip and traction from a luggy, aggressive outsole, you want a good fitting, light, breathable upper with good width and depth in the toe box, then I would definitely recommend checking out the new X-Talon Ultra 260 V2. But also, don't write it off if, like myself, you run on a big mix of terrains. Some of them trails will be muddy, they will be slippy, and you need that lug, because the shoe can be quite versatile as well by sticking in a pair of them boomerang footbeds. It has made all the difference for me, and I have spent a lot more time in this shoe since putting them footbeds in on a big mix of terrain. So there you have it, folks, another review crushed at Run4Adventure featuring an inov-8 trail running shoe. Really hope you enjoyed it, really hope you found it helpful. I did hear a little whisper, a few rumours the other day that inov-8 are soon to be launching a new multi-terrain shoe. So I've got no specs, no features, I haven't even seen a picture of the shoe, but that should be launching in the UK very soon, and hopefully we'll be able to get a pair. Don't forget you can follow us on our other social media platforms, whether it be Instagram, Facebook or Strava. Lots going on at the channel, so keep your eyes peeled. We've got some great content coming your way. But for now, guys, thanks for watching. It's always appreciated. And as always, stay safe and keep on running. I had great fun running around the wet and muddy Tahiti woods on the... had a completely redesigned upper to give you a more comfortable lockdown feel and fit. Now I can't remember any of the others. When it comes to the construction of the V2, the upper has a